Welcome back to Postcards and Podcasts. This is the second podcast, and last time we met with Howard Rudge, the head tour guide at Pembroke Castle, and we covered the dark history of Pembrokeshire. But departing from those dark thoughts, I'm here today with Jon Foreman, the sensationally seminal and luckily for us local artist whose art is naturally made to depart from dark thoughts.
Yeah.
Welcome, absolutely. Jon. So what you do is land art, and you draw these huge pieces on beaches, in woods, and in derelict buildings every now and again.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about land art and how you came towards that.
Yeah, well, land art is just creating artwork with natural materials wherever you be. So you could be at the woods, you could be at the beaches, you could be by the river, you could be anywhere. So that's what land art is. Yeah.
What did you start with? If you had, you have your beach drawings, you have the forest stuff, the use of leaves and.
Well, when I was in college, I started off using materials from like skips and stuff because that's at college, you know. So when I'm at college, there's no natural environment.
Okay.
Get me? So I used, but at that point, I hadn't fully discovered land art anyway.
Okay.
So I was just arranging objects like broken chairs and just all sorts of things,
which sort of naturally falls within the bell of land art, I suppose, arranging things.
It is.
In a way,
it's a very similar way of working. It's the same way of working in a way, but each object is different, so you'll arrange it in a different way. Okay,
and how did you come about getting the necessary materials to do land art? If you started off with man-made materials, what made you turn to that?
I discovered land art whilst doing research and such.
Okay.
So the natural course then went to land art, and perfectly then our beaches, our natural coastline, our amazing woodlands around here is just perfect for what I do. So
in Pembrokeshire, well, I mean, anyone who's watching can't see this, but to my right and to Jon's left, in a full 180 degree angle, it's all just sea. If you go in that direction, you're just going to come across sea and beaches.
Yeah, that's it.
When did land art come about?
Oh, well, I think it started in the 70s. I could be wrong.
Sure.
But it actually started off as giant earthworks where they used diggers and they dug into the ground. That's like the beginnings of it. Okay. Very close after that, then Andy Goldsworthy started, and that's more minimal. Well, I say minimal, small scale. Using leaves typically, or any natural material. He's probably used it. He's used sheep's wool. He's used all sorts.
Sure. And I suppose you do in terms of your work, you do quite a range in regards to sizes and in regards to what sort of.
Yeah. I try to cover all different kinds of materials if I can, and also scale, like you were saying. Mm-hmm. Trying to incorporate all sorts of different things, like colour and illusion a little bit here and there.
Yeah. So you discovered land art at college. What were you directed towards doing in, say, GCSE at secondary school?
In GCSE,
if you can.
I don't think I was. I don't remember being directed. We just all did what we thought art was, and that was just drawing and painting. Really, I mean, it might have been a bit of like oil pastel work here and there and stuff, but I don't remember being introduced to enough different things,
So do you think at college it was perhaps the staff there, or the
like
that style of teaching was more tailored to you, and therefore gave you a.
They really helped to show you how free art can really be. When someone says art to any normal person, they immediately think drawing and painting. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But what I'm saying is there's a lot more.
Okay. Yeah. So you would be a second wave land artist then?
Ah, right. Yeah. well, the first wave land artists is like Andy Goldsworthy and Richard Long, yeah. And since then, I think we've created this kind of new community of land artists and stone balancers as well, and even sand drawing artists. They're sort of separate but at the same time. It's all encompassed in land art anyway. The community, I feel, is like the second wave of land artists, and it's like it's becoming almost a movement.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And there's recent festivals that I've been to that I've met them all, and it's just been an incredible experience.
And are they typically based in the UK, or are they
further afield? Not this March gone, but the March before that, I was invited to go to Texas to Llano Earth Art Festival.
Yes.
And
the double L, and it's not Welsh.
Yeah. It's supposed to be pronounced Llano, apparently, but they all say Llano anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I've known all these artists online for a number of years, and then I met like nearly all of them all at once at this one festival, and it was an incredible experience.
Well, it seems that you've excelled as a result of a lot of community. You're saying that you're teachers, and then you're saying with the second wave land artists, and I know that even in your work now, you work with local photographers, and you work with your girlfriend, Bryony.
Yeah, Bryony, yeah.
And your son. Yeah,
Elijah, my son. He does a bit of work with me here and there, yeah.
What sort of things have you been doing recently in regards to collaborative work, I suppose?
Collaborative work. Well, I'm always working with Bryony.
Yeah.
Whenever we're both available, we tend to go out and make some stuff, whether it's sand drawing or any of the materials. Yeah. In Llano, I did a really big collaboration. I think we kind of took on too much.
So she went with you to Texas then?
Yeah, this year.
Yeah.
Actually, Bryony was working on her own work at that time.
Right.
So
right.
I was doing a collaboration with 3 other artists, and we kind of bit off more than we could chew, if I'm honest. It was really big.
Oh, right. Okay.
It was a stonework, but it was, I don't know, like 25 meters wide.
I've seen the photos.
Yeah. Colossal work. But yeah, the artists I worked with was James Brunt, Marcelo Vaness. It was great.
And James Brunt's quite big at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, James Brunt, he's gone viral in the last year or so. Yeah, he deserves it, absolutely. His work is incredible.
Was it last year that in Wales, at least, he went viral?
Oh, in
Wales Online.
Kind of, yeah.
And you had the wonderful accolade, the wonderful title of a man with some string and a rake in West Wales. I thought that was a beautiful title.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. Yeah. That was a video I made with Jodie Cusack.
Sure.
We did that 2, maybe even 3 years ago now.
Okay.
And Wales Online contacted me asking if they could post some of my work. They wanted that video, so they used that video. I think they cut it down a little bit, but yeah, I was just really pleased to get the exposure, really, and see the response that people had to it.
You've got quite a large following on Instagram and Facebook, though, haven't you?
Yeah, it's going quite well.
Yeah. We were discussing earlier, weren't we, in regards to titles, how you used to like naming titles because it gave them a sort of a secondary aspect or a perspective that somebody could perhaps look at your work from.
It can help, and I still like naming them, but I'm not trying to make my work appear any more grandiose by giving it a title. It's not. I'm not about that. It's just something extra just to add on to it. It's a bit of fun. Yeah, I've let other people name my work a bunch of times. Yeah.
Right. Okay. But I think that ties in with this idea of a man in West Wales with some string and a rake, and because your art really does tie in with what we're about here at Postcards and Podcasts, which is our natural heritage, and our heritage is our future, being our tagline. But I suppose for you particularly, our heritage is your future, because that's what you use. So I think the way that you conduct yourself in regard to your art is very decent and somewhat self-effacing. It's not as you said, as glorified as some might be with it.
Well, what I first thought when I heard about heritage is just, you typically jump straight to like castles,
you do,
old stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. It's still great content. It's still cool stuff. But there's actually the natural side of things, and I didn't think of that at first either. But
yeah,
the natural heritage is incredible around here.
Yeah, well, it is. Last year, the coastline of Wales and particularly Pembrokeshire was identified as being, the National Geographic did it, the most beautiful thing in the world for 2018 or something along those lines. We have some of the top beaches in the world. So, off our discussion about natural heritage and our discussion about your environment and what brought you to do land art, we can talk about the environment as it's so interlinked with your artistry, and the fact we live in Pembrokeshire, the fact we have the beaches that we have, the woods that we have, the fields that we have, the cliffs that we have, the rocks on the beaches. It's all wonderful stuff. But the one of the key things we have in today's political climate is protecting the environment. And I would imagine that with your particular art, which is all about arranging land, that you might have some complaints as to your impact. I can see your teeth gritting already. Your impact on the land and whether you do any damage. You're saying that the original ones in the 70s or 80s with Andy Goldsworthy or whoever it was involved carving up the land.
Yeah, that was more Robert Smithson and stuff.
Okay, that was more Robert Smithson.
Yeah, and there was a bunch of artists back then who, one of them, I think it was Robert Smithson, who made the spiral jetty, which is literally a spiral jetty into the water. Right. And and like these days it would maybe be considered bad for the environment because it's a lot of digging up the earth, really.
Yeah, exactly. And what that would do for the ecosystem probably isn't very good.
But in comparison to that, the small scale work, like compared to that, my work is small.
Okay.
My small scale work, it's not damaging to the environment at all, really.
One of the great things about your work is the sort of which I quite like, is the ephemeral nature, which is the idea that you do your work and it is of very high quality, I think.
Thank you.
And then the tide comes in and he gets rid of it, and there is, the wind will get at it, the moving sand will get at it, right? Yeah, and it will go. So that's that passes on quite quickly. But what about the stuff you do in the woods in regards to stones or in regards to leaves, branches, that sort of thing?
Well, it's very rare that I'll find enough stones to really work in the woods. Okay. But some small ones I might do here and there. But if it's a stack or a balance, it'll get knocked over by something eventually. The wind, people, animals, anything. And I suppose at the beaches, if I'm making anything, the tide will take it eventually.
Yeah, and that is the truth.
If it's below the tide line, there is no argument against it whatsoever.
We were talking earlier, and you said that your favourite space to work is Linsway Beach.
It is
one of them.
Yeah, it's certainly one of them. It's certainly where I go or have gone the most over the years.
Okay.
It's nearby, and for sand drawing, it is perfect.
That's fairly protected from wind, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which, in regards to one of the factors that might secure that sort of ephemeral nature, the tide would just get at it. Yeah. So even if there isn't any wind, the tide's still going to get it.
It covers the whole thing. Certainly on a leap tide, it'll go right the way, nearly all the way to the steps that you have to climb to get down there.
Why is that beach so? What is
perfect for me?
Yeah, for you.
For sand drawing in particular, it is really solid sand. Nearly always it's compact, which means that you get very little footprint at all. And from a distance, you're not going to see the footprints anyway.
Which is often what you do. Do you use drones or do you use the cliffs?
I have friends with drones who often help me.
Okay.
I use the cliffs a lot. I climb and take pictures, and that's kind of part of it. It's kind of fun, you know. I don't mind having to do that. But yeah, that's not all. There's really quite colourful stones down there, and for doing stonework, it's quite nice. But also with the sand, it's always wet sand
Sure.
because the sea covers it every single tide.
Which is easier for drawing on.
Yeah, you can't draw properly on dry sand. It doesn't work. It just passes through it.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, that's basically why it's such a good beach.
Is it at all unclean, that beach? Because what we have, Keep Wales Tidy, which is a Pembrokeshire-based beach clean organisation, and they go to lots of beaches. That's my thought behind this question. What about Linsway Beach?
Linsway, it kind of picks up stuff here and there.
Okay.
It tends to be sort of big bits of fishing, like rope or big plastic containers that would keep things in.
Okay.
It doesn't tend to be like plastic bottles or, that sort of thing. It's not normal litter. It's usually from fishing, I would have said. And there's always people cleaning it, to be honest. They're always making the effort to go down there and carry loads of rubbish back to the steps.
Yeah, which you said was they have to be proper tanks to actually deal with.
Yeah, it takes a lot of effort to do all that. And yeah, I really appreciate it anyway. I hope everybody else does as well.
It makes your canvas a bit cleaner, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it doesn't affect my canvas because, like I said, the tide brings it all the way in.
Sure.
So any rubbish is right in the corners. You don't even notice it in any of my pictures.
Nature plays such a huge role in your art. What sort of things would affect your work then? We've got the wind, we've got the tide. I suppose seasonally, would that impact or
season? Yeah, well, I mean,
can you work on a full moon? What's the?
I tend not to do work at night time because it's hard to take photos for me. But you can get astrophotography, and as I've worked with Wayne recently to do some
Wayne Boucher.
Yeah, Wayne Boucher. Yeah,
Postcards and Postcards.
Yeah. And we did a couple of really cool collaborations recently.
Yeah, I imagine with the moon, the tide might be a bit erratic, and then you could do nothing.
Yeah, it's all about just finding the right times to go there. That's all part of it, though. You've got to know when the tide is out if you want to go sand drawing, and if I want to spend 4 hours on the beach making something with stones or whatever. I mean, I've spent 3 days managing to come back each day to create something before.
Yeah.
Because I've known that the tide won't quite reach. That was at Sandy Haven.
Okay.
I managed to do that.
What was that called? If you
I can't remember the title of it because there's so many creations. So I won't remember the titles of all of them. But it was big.
I think one of the lovely thing about the way you work, I think, is that as you were saying, it's all about knowing the times, and you work around the environment. It's non-invasive, and it's ephemeral, and it's accommodating. So in regards to, again, the impact that you might have on the environment, it's minimal.
Yeah,
if not none, if nil.
It's pretty much nothing except for getting there.
Okay.
Aside from that, that's it. In our community, there's a lot of people who really don't like stone balancing and everything because there's been this news article go around, which is only an opinion of one person,
right? Go on.
And it's spread like wildfire, and everybody's just lapped it up.
And that's stone stacking,
and everyone thinks it's bad, but if it's below the tide line, it literally makes no difference whatsoever to the environment.
In regards to stone stacking,
and actually, nearly every stone balancer who I've met and worked with, has knocked their work down afterwards anyway, and I do it as well.
Well, you've gone to Scotland and to Llano, the.
It's supposed to be. Yeah.
It's supposed to be.
Everyone calls it Llano.
Well, it's supposed to be.
But I asked them about it because it sounded Welsh to me.
Yeah.
And they said it's called Llano because apparently it comes from somewhere in the Europe or something. I don't know.
Spain, maybe.
Yeah, Spain. Yeah, I think it's.
But in regards to the geography of the two festivals you went to, so you went to Scotland, and I imagine that's quite similar to the stuff you do here.
Texas is very different, actually, because it's based on a river.
Hot.
Yeah, it's a lot hotter. Yeah. So it's based on a river, and actually this year just gone, there was a massive flood before we got there, so there was a lot of worry about whether the festival was going to go forward or not, because there was a lot of everyone needed help because the flood had actually hit some of the houses and stuff and taken them out, and all the trees were like all sideways when I got there, and that was half a year after it happened. But it's a river, so It's completely different.
After the floods caused by Hurricane Katrina, they used art therapy to deal with the victims of Hurricane Katrina. So it was probably fortunate that you're about the scenario in which you had to perform your art or do your art. What did you end up making as a result of that atypical environment you found yourself in?
That is it's a very different environment, but as far as stonework goes, it's kind of the same.
Oh, right, okay.
And there was more sand this year than last year,
Yeah.
which helped me because I like having a big space to work on, like a canvas kind of thing, but 3D. But there's no space for sand drawing. There's not enough space for that at all.
In regards to the impact that you might have on the beach, you're saying that the nature might have more of an impact upon your work. I think you told me how a dog nicked one of your...
Yeah, so I put my stick in the ground.
Yeah.
And I put the string on the sticks, and then I just started walking out to start drawing or to get a guideline out.
Yeah.
You know? And this dog just runs along and steals the stick out of the ground and runs away. So then I had no stick, so I had to go and find a new one, I think. Yeah.
I suppose that's the impact of nature upon your work. But you were saying you used to go to a derelict building and you would construct work from the remnants of things you found in there. But you said that not just nature, but people would affect your work, because I suppose that's the thing I've left out in regards to nature having impact upon your work. But what impact do people have upon your work? I imagine they walk on your art. I would hope that people wouldn't want to do that.
Sometimes it does, yeah. Well, with the derelict building, I haven't done it for a while because it's locked down. I can't get in there anymore.
They caught you?
No, they started developing something, but I'm not even sure if that's going ahead anymore, but that's irrelevant. So I can't get in there anymore, but I would be working there still if I could.
Sure.
So in this derelict building, I would use things like glass and anything that's broken that's lying around, slate maybe, bits of wood, bricks, anything.
Recycling.
Basically. But I also brought some leaves in, like you said, and filled the room with the leaves. I'd make like all different forms out of it, like spirals, and come back the next day or whatever.
And it wasn't a huge room, you said, but you said
but
it was a nice sized room.
Nice sort of square room.
And you brought in quite a few leaves.
Yeah, so I pretty much filled the room.
How long did those take you to get, that amount of leaves?
I don't know, hours.
Hours.
But having said that, the road that leads to this place, there's so many trees there. There's so many leaves on the road in autumn.
Right,
so
okay, so it's fairly...
It's not stupidly far, but the depot is a big place, so you got to walk a long way to get them there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I must have been about 20 bin bags full of leaves, maybe more.
And then what happened to your...
So then, after leaving...
Preciously gathered leaves.
People had burnt them. Yeah. So then I came back to a room full of ashes, and... I was like, oh, darn, I was quite enjoying using those leaves. But then I realised I'll just use the ashes. So I used the ashes. So,
ongoing, one of the lovely things about your work, which ties into the environment, is this idea that your work is ongoing and you're constantly working with change. I think one of your pieces, actually, which you did with Wayne, was called In Mutatio, which means change. Which means change. Yeah. So it's a really lovely quality, that idea of adaptability, and I imagine that would take you in quite a few directions, and also it gives you some leeway to be as creative as you feel like being on any particular day. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
ever changing. I briefly mentioned that after Hurricane Katrina, the victims of that, a few of them, were tended to via the use of therapy. And I believe that there's this therapeutic aspect of your work, isn't there? You're saying that it started off by arranging objects, and that in itself is rather therapeutic. It's sort of taking the chaos of nature and harmonizing it, and that in itself has a certain degree of escapism.
Yeah. Well, it's like you were saying, just art in general can be therapeutic.
Mm-hmm.
Just arranging objects in general can be therapeutic. And just being out in nature can be very therapeutic. But if you put those two together, it could be 5 times, 10 times
as therapeutic
as those both,
Well, you were saying you're going to do some workshops with young people.
Yeah.
And in the same way that you doing your art helps you by you aiding these young people, because the workshops are directed towards young people, they might be able to gain that similar sort of therapeutic notion.
Yeah.
And I suppose what is recognised is that if people do work with in an artistic way or a creative way, they can experience the benefits of that.
Yeah. Well,
how have you experienced the mental health side of your art? How does it tie in with your art?
Well, when life is busy and you're at home with all your bills and money worries or what have you, it's just ideal to just get away from it for a bit. I mean, a lot of people just do that by going for a walk, but if you add in the art therapy with the nature, it just makes it that much more effective for me in particular anyway. And I think that the world needs to tap into that,
Yeah.
Because it's virtually unrecognised.
Yes, and with the current government cuts to the arts, something as directly accessible as land art, it should be recognised as an authentic outlet for art therapy. And maybe there will be something that will come of that.
Yeah.
And that would be amazing. Did you find that doing your work impacted upon, as in you went to do it to help with any issues, any mental?
It was never intentional.
It was never intentional. So it was a you just realised that there seemed to be this connection after you did it.
Yeah.
It was peaceful.
You can't not notice it. I've never necessarily needed it. I've never gone out searching for a way to escape from something.
Okay.
But I might have done it without thinking about it.
A corollary, a natural consequence or response to being out.
But for the most part, I do it because I enjoy the creative process, and you really lose yourself in that process. Even if it's just a repetitive process, like creating a spiral and collecting the same stones over and over again, it doesn't make any difference.
No,
because you just zone out. But you're very aware still of where you are.
Yeah.
And
sort of mindfulness.
Yeah, and the sounds of what's around you as well.
Which is if you listen to a mindfulness CD, it is ocean waves lapping and a very calm voice.
It, yeah.
I found your work just calming to look at from a secondary perspective. What about for you?
Well, I didn't intend for it to be like that for other people, but it's great to know that it does that. My main focus with what I'm making each time is for it to be different, so it's not becoming stagnant or anything like that. And developing ideas and things like that, it helps me to push forward.
One of your aspirations is to create almost optical illusions with your work, with sort of 3D positioning.
Yeah.
Explain that better than I just did.
Sort of trying to create a sort of crossover between land art and what is known as op art, which is kind of patterns that mess with your eyes in a weird way. I like creating almost voids that draw you in. And if I dig into the sand a bit, as well as using stones, it pulls people in even more. That's the calming effect I was talking about. Maybe that's a secondary. Yeah, it's like almost the opposite. Isn't it? People might find that quite alarming almost.
Yes.
Yeah. The other side of it is like the intensity. Yeah. So where some work I might create is quite simple overall, others will be quite intense.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to cover a lot of bases. Yeah.
Well, on a very brief segue, heavy metal was the more intense side, or the horror film aspect of music, or there was a comparison between horror, even though you yourself are a lead singer in a heavy metal band, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I even wrote a song at one point that was relevant to what I do out on the beaches.
What was it called?
It was called Alleviate. Yeah.
Alleviate.
Yeah.
And was it intense? Was it quite a
Yeah.
Effie piece. Oh, right.
We don't really have any that aren't intense, but it's just a link. It's not supposed to be noticeable to anyone listening, really.
No, sure.
It's just a sort of thing that I wrote about because it's personal to me.
Yeah, 100%. And off how the way your work affects you, do you ever just get tired of going out and doing it all?
No,
Oh.
no, absolutely not. I'm actually scared of stopping creating work. So I create up to 4 or 5 things a week.
Right.
And
Okay.
I'm scared of stopping because in my second year of uni, we had subjects that we had to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that pulled me away from what I was already doing.
And
I ended up doing work that just wasn't me.
Right. Okay.
Even by the end of it, when we were doing our own work, basically, I still didn't do what I would typically do. I did something different for some strange reason. I think it's because I'd been taken out of my natural place. And I'm scared of stopping it now because I feel like I could lose the flow of ideas and feel for what I do.
And that's the momentum. How long have you? So how long? When did you finish at university?
2014.
2014.
But
So
it would have been 2012 or 13 when I had that year where I was still creating some work that was sort of relevant, but it was 1 year, that threw me off.
And have you just been at it non-stop since then? Since that second year? And
I don't think
5
I've had
works a day?
any longer than 2 weeks off.
Wow.
I don't think I've ever had any longer than that off. I don't even think it's been one, to be honest. It might have been 1 week max.
That's incredible.
I feel like I rely on it now.
Yeah.
Because if I stop for too long, I think I'll start getting agitated. I'll start getting annoyed with myself because I haven't created anything.
Have you experienced that where you've stopped and felt extreme agitation?
Yeah, well, if there's been just like certain events going on where I haven't had the opportunity to get out, or work, or it could be anything. Mm-hmm. But I'm usually managed, but there's been the odd one here and there where I haven't been able to, and I get frustrated because I can't. Or sometimes I misinterpret the weather, and then I get annoyed with myself because it looks horrible out or something, and then I don't go out, and then within an hour it's really nice out, and I'm really annoyed with myself for not going out.
So you've lost an hour.
Yeah.
How much work can you get done in an hour then?
Quite a surprising amount, yeah. Okay. But a lot of it is like changing little things, adjusting. Sure. Yeah.
But I mean, with five pieces a week plus little bits of adjusting, would you say you're a perfectionist then?
Yeah, I would definitely call myself a perfectionist with what I do. Yeah. So I'd actually rather burn out than stop, have a break, because I'm scared of losing my flow altogether. And I'm sure if I burn out, I could readjust.
Where did you get that idea from that you might burn out? Was that something you experienced?
Because I do a lot of work. I do a lot. But I've been fine so far. So I'll just keep going at this rate and see what stops me.
So what might stop you? What are your plans?
So I've got a couple of festivals coming up. One's called Jam on the Marsh.
Okay. And that's music festival? Is it a jam? A jam on the Marsh?
I think it's got a lot of things going for it. It's not just a music festival. Okay. And apparently it's 11 days, so it's a long one, yeah. Wow. So I'll be doing a lot of sand drawing over that one.
Yeah.
And that should be really good fun, and doing workshops with young people there, I think, hopefully.
There we are.
And then the other festival is I'll be working alongside Bryony, my girlfriend, and James Brunt, who I met in Texas.
Yeah.
And maybe some other artists as well. I think he's got some other artists coming. Okay. And that should be great. And that's at Bridlington Beach.
When's that festival?
That's September time.
Early,
I think.
Bridlington.
Yeah.
Jam on the Marsh.
Yeah.
And what else?
I've got some commissions coming up.
You're doing one for us, aren't you?
Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah, that's one of the ones I was talking about. Yeah, that should be really good fun.
Little beauty.
Yeah, and the workshop as well.
Yeah.
Doing that. I'm looking forward to all the lease. It's going to be really good. But yeah, when it starts to get to autumn and winter, it's sort of, it dies out of
the trough.
Yeah.
Is it?
But as far as my work goes, I don't have an end game or anything like that.
No.
I'm just letting it flow.
And I suppose that's your attitude with a lot of things. And I think that's a very good attitude to have.
I'm too relaxed, if anything. In certain situations, I can be too relaxed.
Well, you know, five things a week is quite active, isn't it?
Well, it is. But it's
you say that
it's relaxing when you're there.
Okay.
It's active artwork, but yeah, it depends on what it is. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other particular art style or you might go into or be interested in doing anything?
Yeah, actually, I kind of want to maybe do some permanent work. It would be quite fun. I'd like to do some permanent stonework somehow.
Okay.
Like
Stonehenge.
It would be a lot. No, it'd be a lot more like mosaic work, probably.
Right. Okay.
That could be really fun. I would love to do something like Stonehenge, but I don't have the power or the means. You know.
No.
I would love to though.
The stones are from Wales.
I would love to design something that big.
Yeah.
It would be so good. But yeah, I'm hoping to do some permanent work hopefully soon. Yeah.
Great. I reckon all your work will be pretty permanent. You're doing quite well so far, aren't you? It's been wonderful having you here and discussing land art with you because it's fascinating and it's so relevant. Thank you very much for coming here, Jon. It's been really good having you.
Thank you.